Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all to the 46th webinar of Team Zen Tax Claiming. It is with your support we are aspiring to do better and better in each of our webinars every week. Thank you for showing interest. We are getting many questions in our post our webinar each and every week. We try to answer most of our questions in our Q&A sessions once the webinar is over. If there are any unanswered questions, kindly do share it in WhatsApp or email. Most of you might have expected CA Prashant Surya to handle this session, as likewise it was mentioned in the email and all the materials that was circulated before. Due to some unfortunate circumstances, he fell sick today and he is not able to continue with taking the webinar today. So I, on behalf of him, will be taking the webinar today. We will wait for another 5 minutes for attendees to join and then we will start the webinar. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So we will get started with this session. Before that, for the new attendees who have joined post our initial briefing. So CA Prashant Surya was about to handle this session today, this webinar. Instead of him, I am handling it because he is a bit unwell. So we'll get started. First of all, I want to apologize to everyone because see, it is not a normal thing to have a webinar on a due date. That too on the same topic. It is not something that we generally do, but this week ITC-04 due date for H1 2024-25 from April to September period is due today, that is 25th of October. In spite of that, we are organizing this webinar today, and it is really heartwarming to see such a huge number of attendees who have turned out. I hope most of you have filed your ITC-04 already. If not, you can have some takeaways from this session for sure. We are discussing all the practicalities, the legal side, and the relevant provisions related to ITC-04 and also job work. Moving into the topic. So job work. What is the definition of job work given under the CGST Act 2017? So it is a treatment or process undertaken by a person on goods belonging to another registered person. The interesting thing here that you have to note is that the process undertaken by a person belonging to another registered person. So we can understand that the goods, the owner of the goods who was sending the goods for job work or the principal should be a registered person. Whereas the person who is doing the job work or job worker can also be an unregistered person, because the definition has told that it is a person. It might be a registered person or an unregistered person. That is the significance of this definition. This is the structure of transaction of job work, where the registered taxable person, see, during the course of webinar, I will be interchangeably using the terms taxable person or principal or the person who is making outward job work supply interchangeably. So please bear with that. The registered person or the principal will be sending the goods to job worker. So the principal will be owning the goods and the job worker will be doing job work on such goods, and they will be returning these goods to the principal. This is the overview of a job work transaction. So there is a question. Should the job work always come from a manufacturer? The answer is no, because even a trader who sends their goods for repacking, it also means that it is a trader should also can give these goods for job work. So that activity of repacking the goods also falls under the category of job work. This is the definition of principal. So principal, a person on whose behalf an agent carries on business of supply or receipt of goods or services or both. So in the course of our discussion, in all the further slides, you can take the principal as the person who's sending the goods to job worker for doing job work. Only a registered person, likewise we saw in our first slide, only a registered person can be a supplier of goods to a job worker, not an unregistered person. This is as per section 143 of CGST Act. Now we will move on to the registration requirements of a job worker. Similar to normal taxpayers, a job worker is also a service provider under GST Act. So a service provider, as per normal limits, if the threshold limit of or the turnover, aggregate turnover during the year is exceeding rupees 20 lakhs, registration should be taken in normal course. So that is what section 22 talks about. This section squarely applies to job worker also. So if the aggregate turnover in the financial year exceeds 20 lakh rupees, then the job worker has to take registration. So what do you mean by the aggregate turnover, or what does it comprises of? Aggregate turnover, you have to be mindful. See, there might be a situation. I am talking this from the perspective of a job worker. There might be a situation where the principal is sending certain inputs to the job worker, and once the processing is done by the job worker, from the job worker's premises, this is supplied to the customer of principal. So in this situation, you have to be mindful. The respective turnover should form part of the turnover of principal only and not the job worker. So in the aggregate turnover, the turnover effected by the job worker on behalf of principal is not included. It should not be included. Now moving on to the other registration requirement. Is there a twist in the tail? So if you look at the section 24, which talks about compulsory registration of persons in certain cases, since this section starts with a non-obstante clause, it has an overriding effect over other sections. So what does it talks about? It talks about a specific situation where persons making any interstate taxable supply should get registration compulsorily. So what does it mean? See, in the previous slide, we saw that if a job worker is having a turnover below 20 lakh rupees, whether they have to register or not, the answer was no. So here it is told that person making interstate taxable supply should take compulsory registration. So in a situation where a job worker A is having their place of business in Tamil Nadu, and say, for example, from Bangalore, in the state of Karnataka, they are receiving an order, and while undertaking this order, they are doing an interstate supply. So in considering this situation, whether job worker A is liable to get registered or not, we'll see this in a couple of slides. So this is the same scenario which I spoke about. So in this scenario, A and company, they are engaged in doing job work. for Messrs. Nellai Machine Works, they are, say, I have missed to mention the place of business. Assume it is to be in Tamil Nadu, and the total job work charges during the year financial year 22-23, the previous year, is only 12 lakhs rupees. A and Co gets a special order from Bangalore. So in this situation, whether A and Co should get registered irrespective of the fact that their turnover has not crossed the threshold limit of 20 lakhs. The answer is no. We have relaxations provided by notification number 10/2017, which was subsequently amended by the notification 3/2019 IGST. So in this notification, there is a specific exemption given for the taxable supply of services who are having aggregate turnover less than 20 lakh rupees to not get registration as per section 24. There is also a clarificatory circular which is issued by the department consequent to the amendment in notification. This circular was also later on amended. So in this clarification also, it is clearly stated if a job worker is engaged in supply of taxable services in interstate supply to other states, they need not get registration under section 24 up to the threshold limit of 20 lakhs. So that is well and clear and a settled question as of now. So what about claim of ITC? We will now move on to the claim of ITC. See, there is a situation where principal is sending the goods to their job worker from their premises, but there can also be a situation where the principal can direct their supplier to supply these goods directly to the job worker's premises. So this might happen. Say, for example, I am in Coimbatore. Certain goods, one of my supplier is in Chennai and my job worker is in Salem. So in this situation, my supplier will be delivering, in normal course of business, my supplier will be delivering the goods to Coimbatore, and from here I have to send my goods back to Salem for job work. Whereas it is a situation, possible practical situation, wherein Salem is on the way en route to Coimbatore from Chennai. So in that case, I can give instruction to my supplier to directly deliver the goods to the premises of my job worker. So in this situation, whether I am eligible to claim ITC, this is very much similar to bill to ship to transaction that you all might have been used to in the normal course of business. So in this situation also, section 19 subsection 2 specifically talks about the ITC eligibility, and you as a principal is eligible to claim ITC even though the goods are delivered to the place of business of your job worker. Moving on. What about the time limits? See, I am giving my goods, either inputs or capital goods, to the job worker for performing specific tasks, not certain tasks like painting, refurbishing, machining. It is very common. So what is the time limit prescribed under the Act regarding receiving the goods back? See, why this is required? From the government's perspective, we are removing the goods. See, I am using the term removal is common under the central excise regime, but still I am using the term removing only. I am removing the goods from my factory premises without payment of GST. In the normal course, at the time of making an outward supply, I will be issuing invoice, I will be generating e-invoice, and I will be generating an e-way bill for the transaction. Whereas, while sending my goods to the job worker's place, I will be sending it under a cover of delivery channel. So I have to ensure that these goods are received back within the prescribed time limit to ensure any sale is not suppressed. So what is the time limit given? For capital goods, the time limit is 3 years from the effective date, and for inputs, it is 1 year from the effective date. So what do we mean by effective date? So effective dates of goods sent can be categorized into two. If the goods are sent directly from the principal place of business, not principal place of business, it is the place of business of principal in this transaction between principal and job worker. So that is the place, or that is the date on which is to be considered as effective date. Whereas in a situation where it is directly sent to the job worker's premises on the instruction of the principal, in that case, date of receipt of goods is to be considered as the effective date. So 1 year and 3 years should be calculated from this date. This is the effective date for computing that period. Are there any exception to this time limit? See, there are certain cases where the manufacturer gives the job worker molds, dies, and all this kind of materials by using which they will be doing the process on the material supplied by the principal. So these kind of articles, specifically molds, dies, jigs, and fixtures sent to job worker may not be returned. So this is the only exception available to this time limit. It will not be. See, what is the consequence? The consequence is that if you are supplying some goods to the job worker, which are considered as inputs, and if it is not received back within the time limit of 1 year, then it will be considered as supply, and you have to pay tax along with interest if it is not received back. So that is the consequence. In case of molds, jigs, and dies, even if you do not receive it back within the period of 1 year, it is not treated as supply. So this is about the records to be maintained by the principal manufacturer. As I told you in the first beginning of our session itself, ITC-04 is the main complaints that we have to do in case of job work. So this complaints is from the point of view of principal who supplies the goods and get the job work done. So under the cover of delivery challan, as per rule 55, you have to send the goods outward for job work. What are the particulars that have to be mentioned in the delivery challan? I have given it in the screen. You can just take a note of it afterwards. So date and number of delivery challan is mandatory. Serial number should not exceed 16 characters. Likewise, in the tax invoice, the name, address of GST of the consignor, consignee. I assume that most of you will be used to all these informations because, see, the roving squad is very active, very much active in our state. So definitely most of you will be ensuring compliance. So HSN code and description of goods is also a mandatory field. Then quantity, taxable value, place of supply in case of interstate. Be mindful, tax rate and tax. The value of tax is not mentioned here. You also have to be mindful of another element, that is quantity. Quantity is of very much significance because once you reconcile the delivery challan which you have used to send the goods outward to your job worker and received back on a later date, the quantity should also match, or you should have, if there is some scrap involved, then that scrap should also have been brought back to the principal place. Now we will move on to the procedural aspects. So as I told you earlier itself, Rule 55 talks about the delivery challan, use of delivery challan, and the situation where transportation of goods is involved without issue of invoice. So job work is one such situation in which delivery challan should be prepared and the goods are sent under the cover of delivery challan. So what is the complaints that we have been talking about from slide 1? The main complaints is ITC-04, form ITC-04. So in ITC-04, what are the things that you report? First data that you report is the goods, about the goods which are dispatched from the principal's place to a job worker, a principal place or on the instruction of principal from their supplier's place. So goods dispatched to a job worker, then the goods received back from the job worker. Next one is the goods, details of goods which are sent from one job worker's place to another job worker's place. See, these kind of transactions are common in textile job work, where you initially send your fabric to one job worker, then from there it might be sent to another person for printing from that job worker's place itself. So it will be then coming to back to the principal after getting processed by 2 or 3 or multiple job workers. So there might be a situation. So these transactions should also be captured in the ITC-04 form. So there is also another situation where the job worker send goods from his on the instruction of principal, the job worker might send the goods from their place to the customer of principal. So this is the sale transaction of the principal. In this transaction, the job worker is sending goods directly to the customer of principal. So these transactions should also be captured into ITC-04. So what is the applicability? It is mandatory from financial year 2019-20. So from April 2019, it is mandatory. You can also see that the filing period of ITC-04 was quarterly until September 2021. Post October 2021, it has been changed to half-yearly window. It is also based on the turnover. So the taxpayers who are having their turnover in the previous financial year above 5 crores, they can file it semi-annually to twice in 1 year. And the taxpayers who are having turnover below 5 crores, they can file it annually. One return is enough. So now we are moving on to the procedural aspects of the ITC-04. So we have to, I will just take you through the form. In the portal, we will just see what are the details which we have to fill in the portal. So section 5 of ITC-04 form, it talks about the details of inputs or capital goods received back from the job worker or sent out from the business place of the job worker. So these details, the details of goods that are received back from the job worker will be mentioned here. The goods might be received by the principal manufacturer, or they can also, see, as we discussed in our previous slide, they can also supply directly from the job worker's place. That is also a possible situation. In this case, if the job worker is an unregistered person, then the principal has to be mindful that the additional, it should be the place of business of the job worker should be added as the additional place of business in the principal's registration to enable this kind of transaction. So there are basically 3 parts to section 5, A, B, and C. 5A talks about the details of inputs or capital goods received back from job worker to whom such goods were sent, and losses and waste also, which we spoke about the scraps. Section 5B, the details of inputs or capital goods which are received back from the job worker other than job worker to whom such goods were originally sent. this situation which we talked about, where multiple job workers are involved and the principal will be supplying goods to, say for example, there are 3 job workers named A, B and C. Principal will initially be supplying these goods to job worker A, then it moves from A to B and B to C, and from the C, it will again come back to principal A. Those kind of transactions should be reported under section 5B. Then under 5C, details of inputs or capital goods sent to job worker and subsequently supplied from the premises of job worker. So these are the 3 situations which might happen. So these situations should be, all of these transactions should be appropriately reported in ITC-04 form. So if you see, there are 13 columns in this return, right from the GST or the state of the job worker, if they are not registered, then the goods received back, original challan, then the original challan number, date, then the challan sent if it is supplied subsequently to another job worker, and invoice details if it is supplied directly to the customer. All these details are requested in ITC-04 form. See, till date, we can say that there have not been any queries which are asked based on ITC-04, much queries asked based on this form, because the department has not yet started scrutinizing this form. We generally know that there are queries being asked based on discrepancy in tax liability reported in e-way bill and when compared to GSTR1. Whereas ITC-04, that 1 year and 3 year compliance and also the quantity mismatch is not put to test prevalently now, but we can expect that. So when you are preparing ITC-04, be careful about the quantity that you are mentioning as being sent to job worker for performing the activities, and also the quantity which your job worker is sending you back. So first situation where goods are sent by the principal to only one job worker. So circular 38/12/2018 talks about this situation where the principal shall prepare 3 copies of delivery challan. As per rule 55, we saw in the previous slides what are the inclusions of delivery challan. So delivery challan should be prepared in triplicate. 2 copies of challan, one should be sent to the job worker along with goods. The job worker, while sending the goods back, should send these challan along with the goods while they are returning it to the supplier. So this is the procedural compliance where goods are sent by the principal to one job worker. What about the situation where goods are sent from one job worker to another job worker? See, in this situation, the goods may move under the cover of a challan issued by either principal or job worker. See, there might be a situation where the exact date, as I told you in the example, A, B and C, 3 job workers are there. So the date on which these goods are moved from the premises of A to B, the principal might not be aware. So in that situation, but that situation also, principal should ideally issue a delivery challan, or the challan issued by the principal at the time of sending the goods in the first place to job worker A can be endorsed and sent to B by job worker A. This is also possible. This situation has been explained in the circular. So what about another situation where goods are returned to the principal by the job worker? So the goods may move from the principal, from the place of business of the supplier to the place of business of the job worker with a copy of invoice issued by the supplier and the name of the consignor and consignee, wherein the job worker's name and address is mentioned as the consignee. So this is a normal transaction. In our tax invoice also we used to follow similar procedure. The buyer shall issue the challan under Rule 45 of CGST rules and send the same to job worker directly. So this is the practical situation, and this procedure can be followed when the goods are sent directly by the supplier to the job worker. What about the situation where imported goods are sent from port to directly to job worker? So in this situation, the bill of entry can be accompanied by the delivery challan issued by the principal and directly sent from the port to job worker's place. It is possible, and this situation we can do this situation, proceed to do with this situation, and the circular has clearly told that copy of bill of entry is sufficient and also the delivery challan issued by the principal. Now coming to another situation where the goods are returned in piecemeal by job workers. See, there are many transactions where the goods are being sent by the principal in bulk to the job worker's place for carrying on activities. So under this situation, it is possible that the job worker might be sending back the goods in tranches. So in case the goods after carrying out the job work are sent in piecemeal quantities by the job worker to another job worker or to the principal, the challan originally issued by the principal cannot be endorsed. A new challan should be issued by job worker in this case. See, if the goods are covered under one challan, in the earlier situation, as we saw, it could be endorsed. But whereas in this situation, when the goods are sent back in piecemeal, like in tranches, so that practice is not possible. You have the job worker has to issue fresh challan for sending back the goods. Now the e-way bill requirement. See, e-way bill requirement. E-way bill has to be generated if the value is more than 50,000. This is known to. I am very sure that this is known to most of you. You are aware of this requirement about the rules of e-way bill. The monetary limit. When the value is exceeding 50,000, you have to generate e-way bill if it is an interstate transaction, whereas in the intrastate transaction, we have a higher threshold limit of 1 lakh rupees. So the movement of goods is for reason other than supply. So supply, it comes under the category when you are issuing a tax invoice. In common understanding, all transactions where the value of goods exceeding 50,000 will require e-way bill for movement. But whereas I told you earlier, the threshold limit for the movement within the state of Tamil Nadu is 1 lakh as such. So there is a specific relaxation also given in e-way bill requirement. This is not related to ITC-04. You need not confuse the requirement of ITC-04 with the requirement of e-way bill. So the exemption is for job work and services relating to yarn, fabric and garments. This is with respect to e-way bill. So this is an illustration which shows that if you are sending 10,000 units of cloth for processing to your job worker, then you have to make sure that these 10,000 units are received back in quantity within the stipulated period of 1 year. So form ITC-04, as I was talking about earlier, we will navigate through the form in online portal. So the form and the contents of form, as we discussed, remains the same. So if you are not that much familiar with filling the form online, you can just go through this process. Like how we do in GSTR1 return, we can choose prepare online, then give all the details in sections 5A, B or C appropriately, and please ensure that these fields will be taken and mapped by the GST portal to send reports to the officers in the backend. So it will have a matching as to the challan which you have sent outwards to the job worker and the date, whether it is received back based on the data populated by this matching will be done in to reconcile this data. So kindly ensure before filing the records in the portal, kindly ensure that these, whether it is inputs, and the classification is also very much important. Whether a delivery challan, through a delivery challan, you are sending inputs or capital goods. So kindly make the classification, and also ensure in the Excel file itself that the goods which have been sent are returned back within the stipulated period. It might happen that the H2 return of one period might have a certain set of data which will be returned only in the H2 return of subsequent period. So this is also a possibility. So for that, kindly keep a separate list of delivery challans which has been issued and not returned back. So this is not closely followed by many of the taxpayers, where we are doing GST audit, and when the department audit was also taken up. So please be mindful of this. So we are coming to the end of this presentation. So job work procedural aspects. A registered person can send the goods to the job worker under intimation. So the ITC-04, what we spoke about throughout the presentation, is all about intimating, supplying the goods from principal's place to the job worker's place and getting it back. So all the certain situations which were discussed in the circular also we have covered. Now what we will do is we will discuss some scenarios. If there are any questions, we will take up the question. Paul Tangam sir will also be joining us to take up the practical questions that you might be having. We'll take up those questions and try to answer those.
Good evening to all. Yes, all of you might have been benefited by the wonderful presentation by CA Jayamohan. It was very, very insightful, and then very lucidly and then clearly explained with the with regard to ITC-04. See, ITC-04 is not many companies follow, though they are doing the job work or sending the goods to the job work. But why there is no so much of urgency or anything like that? Because of the fact Section 47, which prescribes the late fee, is not applicable for ITC-04. So people are taking it easily. But that can be a situation. The times can change. Now the department is concentrating only on the difference between what is ITC coming in 2B and then what you are taking, or what is coming in 2A and then what you took, all these aspects. Once these things will get stabilized, they will look into more avenues to mobilize money. So in that area, this ITC-04 will come into handy. One, there is no late fee, but the department can levy a general penalty, that is 25,000 rupees CGST plus and then 25,000 rupees SGST, that may be levied for each and every offence. So if there is omission to file 4 returns or for 4 copy returns, then you will be penalized 4 times. So it will come to 2 lakhs. And if there are officers, they can go more than that. What is that? See, 143, section 143 enables you to remove the goods without payment of tax only on intimation, by giving an intimation. That is the form, that is ITC-04. So once if you fail to that, so they can say you remove the goods without intimation, so you will be treated, it will be treated as a supply. That type of arguments may be far-fetched, that can come. So it is better to follow and then file the ITC-04 properly for the persons who are sending the goods to job work. So that is also previously it was quarterly, now it has been made half-yearly. So there is a less compliance, but it must be done. So now let us go into some of the queries raised in the chat box.
Sir, I will read the first question.
Yes.
One of our attendees, he has sent the question beforehand itself.
Okay.
So Deepak sir. So the question is that we are getting Panjang calendar printing job work in our Maharashtra unit. We receive raw material paper for job work, and we send the same printed sheet for some work in Karnataka. Do we have to file ITC-04? This is the first question asked by him.
See, ITC-04 Wherever you send, then you have to file ITC-04. Whether it can be interstate supply or interstate movement or anything, even within the state, you have to file. So that only there will be a column for place of sending the goods or place of supply in that form. So even wherever you are sending, you must file ITC-04, irrespective of the fact whether the goods are sent within the state or outside the state. Even there is an exception for job work registration. See, any person who is supplying any interstate supply is mandated to take GST registration. But for the job workers, there is an exemption. So job workers, even if they are doing the interstate supply of job work, they need not get registered until they reach the threshold limit of 20 lakhs. So this movement should be recorded even if it is for interstate or within the state. Yes.
He has subsequently asked one more question. We are printing leading newspapers on job work basis. Most of our clients are not filing ITC-04. If any client not file ITC-04, is there any effect that come to our unit?
See, the even some of the circular highlighted, it is the task of the principal. So the principal only should file ITC-04. So if he is not filing, that penalty or anything, the responsibility falls on the principal. So in that situation, as a job worker, you need not worry about it. Only you have to send the goods by a delivery challan and then with e-way bill. But there will not be any problem for you because you are not the principal as per section 143. So there will not be problem for you as a job worker.
Okay, sir. Ram Rao, sir. So you have asked, can we understand the job work is equal to contract work? Any difference is there?
See, there is a definition for job work. Okay, job work means doing some process or treatment on the goods supplied by another person, registered person. So that is the crucial. So the person who is sending the goods, so that is the criteria for the job work. But he can add some materials. But the principal material should be sent by a person, and then on that some treatment or process should be done. That only will come into as a job work. But this works contract, see, that is you will say contract for work or works contract. It is mainly for immovable properties. The works contract also, that is the definition. It is only for immovable properties. So that cannot be considered as a treatment or process. See, suppose you are building a construction of a building, that will come under works contract, but that is not a job work because the materials and everything is putting in by the contractor. Even if the contractee gives the supply, that will not be considered as a job work because there should be some process or treatment. Here now they are in the services of construction, so that is the main difference. So the goods should be given by the principal in case of a job work as per the definition, but that is not the case in the case of works contract. So there is a clear distinction between job work and then work contract or contract for work in the case of GST.
Okay, sir. Moving on to next question. Shivakumar sir has asked that, is there filing to be done by job worker except GSTR 1 and 3B?
See, job worker, only the GSTR 1, 3B, for him, he need not maintain anything or he need not do the anything process like that. The principal only is liable. As a job worker, it is suffice, it is enough if you file GSTR 1 and then 3B.
Next, Suryanarayan sir has asked that, is there any prescribed format for challan?
I think you mean by delivery challan. Delivery challan, Jamon clearly explained. See, rule 55 says what should be the contents of the delivery challan, how it should be maintained. It is akin to, nearly it is equal to a tax invoice only. All the contents, even the method of numbering is similar to a tax invoice only. So that what are the contents that is prescribed under rule 55 should be followed by you. That is the prescribed format for the challan. A challan, any document containing the details mentioned in rule 55 will be convenient or will be enough for to be called as a delivery challan.
Kadirvel sir has asked what document need for sending job work from Tamil Nadu to Karnataka?
See, I am assuming you are sending goods from Coimbatore to Bangalore. So delivery challan. So delivery challan with e-way bill is enough.
Next question asked by Elmali sir. We are sending goods through delivery challan as 100 quantity and received through 5 delivery challan with 5 DC each of 20 quantity. Then how we declare?
See, that is the purpose of ITC-04. ITC-04, see, that is class 4 will be mentioning about the goods sent by you. 5 ABC will be with regard to goods received back by you. So the balance will be the amount that will be with the job worker. To ascertain that fact only, this ITC-04 is fine. So you at the time of sending the goods, you will be mentioning in GST class 4 what are the items, 100 items sent, but you will be getting back as a different challan. You will be declaring each and everything, and then it will getting mapped so that there will not be any problem.
Yes, again, he has also told that system accept only 1 DC.
System accept only 1 DC. I don't think so. No, sir. You try it, sir, but we are not come across that type of system. System accepting 1 DC. No.
Okay, sir. We'll move on to next question. Saktivel sir has asked the queries regarding error while filing the return for H2 of 23-24 financial year. Error name is error in JSON structure validation in GST ITC-04 return. It will be informed. Send the supply. Okay.
Sir, if you could send that H2 return with a JSON, we can check it and then we can let you know, sir. What is that error? If at all possible, some error, some unnecessary character, or that could be the reason. What is the quantity you are declaring, and then what is the thing? So that could be the reason. Just if you can send, and then you can seek our assistance, and then we will be able to help you, sir.
Please also ensure that you are using the latest updated utility for making the return, sir, preparing the return. Okay. Prabhakaran sir has asked, we are the manufacturer, but we returned some raw material to same supplier for job work due to some complaints and get back the same. Is it mandatory to file ITC-04? I think the question is not clear, sir. Sir, can you rephrase the question? We will be happy to take up, sir.
Sir, what do you mean? Karigar means you mean job worker, sir. Karigar, we understand Karigar means job worker, unregistered in many cases, situated in different states. See, there is no restriction on sending the goods to the job worker who is whether registered or unregistered. See, for example, the table 4, it will say if it is under GST or unregistered person, that is the first column that will ask. So there is no restriction in sending the goods to a job worker who is unregistered. But the only condition is if you are going to make further supply, that is, you are going to make a sale from the place of a job worker, then who is not registered, job worker who is not registered, you have to register that place as your additional place of business. You have to register the unregistered person, job worker place as additional place of business. Then only you can make a further supply from that place.
So then Paneer Silvam sir has asked, while sending goods to job worker and return back, we have to mention the rate of CGST and SGST in delivery challan in e-way because ITC-04 contains column for rate of tax of the goods described.
See, this is one of the literal interpretation taken by the department. See, they say you have to mention the rate of tax and then the tax amount only if it is the supply. It is a supply, but you are sending the goods is not a supply. So if you mention the supply, then they detain the goods and then they want to collect the 200% penalty. In my opinion, that may not be taken as a strict value or strict interpretation is not required. So, but we advise you do just put the rate of tax, do not put the amount of tax. So in the DC, because in the DC, what is the relevant portion? They say other than by way of supply. So what is the rate of tax? And then that should be mentioned. They say otherwise than by way of supply. So they interpreted in such a way, if it is not a supply, you should not mention the tax amount. If you mention the tax amount, it amounts to supply. That is the view department taking, with which I don't concur. But you avoid putting the tax amount. Just put the tax rate. Do not put the tax amount in that. It takes. You can send the goods through like that.
So Ram Rao sir has asked, school is asking printing shop to print ID cards for students. Is this job work or contract?
See, that is it is not a job work. See, is the school sending you the material or anything? They will not send you the material. That is a contract only. It is a printing contract.
Next, Ravi Teja sir, I'm a manufacturer sending goods on job work to SEZ unit job worker. The SEZ unit is registered in Karnataka. Do I have to put IGST or CGST or SGST in ITC-04 table? That is goods sent on job work. The offline utility is not validating when I put IGST for SEZ job worker. If I put CGST for SEZ job worker, the offline utility is validating, but GST common portal is not validating. Kindly suggest the solution.
Actually, this is the first time I am coming across.
We have not come across such a situation, sir. You can just email us the details. We'll definitely get connected with you and assist you in clearing these issues.
So this is also one of the eye opener for me. So this is the first time I am coming across this type of issues. So Ravi Teja sir, kindly send a mail with the details. Surely we will be able to get back to you. What is the rate we need to put the e-way bill as a job worker? What is the tax rate we need to in e-way bill? See, you have to put the what is the rate of tax for the goods. See, you need not put the 80% or anything. What is the rate of tax for the goods? You have to put in the e-way bill. See, e-way bill only for the value components. E-way bill depends upon the value. It does not depend upon the rate of tax or anything. So, if the value is more than 50,000 interstate or 1 lakh in the case of Tamil Nadu, you have to take e-way bill. So you have to put the rate of tax applicable for that commodity. Suppose you are getting a component which is used for the cars. So you have to put the rate of tax as 28%, even though you are a job worker. So the rate of tax or the rate of tax of the job work is not the criteria. The rate of tax for the material is the criteria for generating the e-way bill in such a case.
Srinivas sir has asked, while sending to a job work with the RM price, raw material price, and from job worker, the price is for finished goods or RM.
See, actually what we suggest is, suppose you are sending a material. At the time of sending, the material cost is say 1 lakh, say or 2 lakhs. And then returning, he is returning the same goods and his job work is 20,000. So at returning, you put the value as 2 lakh to 20,000. While sending, you send the raw material cost. So returning back, don't put the finished goods rate. The raw material cost or the cost at which you send plus the job work value you include, and then that is the value that you have to say put it there.
So next again, tax component in DC is not required.
The tax component in DC is not required.
What is the penalty for not filing ITC-04? Any implication?
Yeah, already in the starting itself I told. So there is no late fee. That is a blessing in disguise. I do not know how long this blessing will continue. Soon they may impose the late fee for ITC-04 also. Now, as of now, the general penalty under section 125 can attract, it is 25,000 CGST and then 25,000 SGST. So that is the consequences. Sometimes even if the officer can go, because 143 say without payment of, you are getting a power to remove the goods without payment, only on the intimation, which is ITC-04. So once you are not filed, you are liable to make the payment that stand can take.
Next question is asked with Vinod Kumar sir. We are unable to file ITC-04. Sir, if you are unable to file, please reach out on email, sir. We'll definitely, we are more than happy to help you or assist you in filing ITC-04 form, sir. Then we are the manufacturer, but we return the same question. So the utility errors and filing errors, kindly reach out to us on email, sir, because it is very difficult to talk about a solution over a webinar. it is very difficult to do it. So if you have questions related to certain situations, kindly put it across on the Q&A box.
Is it required to file ITC-04 jewelry business? Absolutely essential. There is no exemption for jewelry business like this. So just like that, I mentioned, whenever you are sending the goods for 2 lakhs and then job work plus the thing, 2,20,000. Similarly, you are sending jewelry when it is sent by adding copper and then stone. So you know the value of the stone and then copper. Suppose you are sending the goods for say 10 lakhs for worth of jewelry, and then copper and then is added, it comes to say 10 lakh 50,000. You and then job work is another 50,000. So totally 11 lakhs. So you put the 11 lakhs and then get it back.
We are a manufacturer and we
That is
purchase.
selling.
This question. The client is sending goods for job work to 3 places. And once job work is completed in first place, then the goods are forwarded to second place and from second to third place. Once the job work is completed, then finally goods are forwarded to customer. So in the principal supplier, in this principal supplier has to submit ITC-04 for all job work, and goods have to move with DC plus e-way bill and GSTR 3B for the final delivery. Is it correct?
See, you are allowed to send from one job worker to another. See, earlier the ITC requirement was from which job worker it moved to another job worker. Now they have done away with the type of movements and all. So as long as you have records to show from job worker A to it has gone to B, and then from B to C, it is enough. So earlier that was it was not like that. You have to show the movement from each and everything in ITC-04. Now it is not required. So just you must have the documents, and then with the documents you can send the goods. Even the delivery challan with that you send, it can be endorsed and then sent from the job worker A to job worker B. He need not even generate a fresh DC. With your job work, he can send the goods even in part or full. That is as per the rules also. So whenever you are sending the goods from, or whenever forwarded the customer from the last job worker, you must ensure that the last job worker is a registered person. If he is not registered person, you must add his name or his address as your additional place of business, and then from there only you can supply. If he is a registered job worker, that requirement is not there. So if he is a registered job worker, from his place after completion, you can directly send it using the bill from and then ship to model, and then it will be valid. And then the e-way bill also should be properly generated for that.
So thank you everyone. If
Thank
you
you.
have further questions or if you face any difficulty in filing ITC-04 form, kindly reach out to our support team. We'll be more than happy to assist you, and keep supporting us, keep following our webinars, and also do use our Zentax Clinics portal for checking out the notices. We have a very integrated portal which helps you seamlessly follow the notices of multiple GST registrations. So do support us. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.